We are now talking to Heavy Sports Jets digital reporter Paul Esden Jr. Paul, what's going on, man?
What's poppin', everybody? Thanks for having me here on the show. I'm great
that.
to finally pop this cherry and be on the program.
Well, you're popping it all right. I mean, hopefully the Jets pop our cherry this year and actually get on a winning streak, something they haven't done in years. But anyways, before we get into New York Jets conversation, how are you feeling? How's your family go? How's your family doing with this whole COVID-19 situation for the last couple of years?
I will be honest. We're speaking of popping cherries, I just popped the COVID cherry. I had avoided it this entire time, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was out for like the last 2 weeks, and
Sorry to
not
hear
to
that.
get all intense here and uncomfortably vivid, but fevers, body aches, all that crazy crap. Every day I thought I was gonna, kick the bucket. I'm like, this is the day. So it hit me like a pile of bricks. Me, my fiance, and my 6-month-old daughter. So. It was crazy, sickening. It's still here, and so it's been tough. But obviously, with our worlds, with doing video shows, radio shows, everything else, working more from home and having this home office set up for interviews and everything else, it's just been a new world that's both good and bad. You get some convenience and things of that nature, and other things like that. But yeah, man, it's been wild, and we're still trucking through it.
The New World Order. Anyways,
there you go. And WO, throw it up, baby.
That's right. We are, as everybody knows, we are talking to Heavy Sports Jets digital reporter Paul Esden Jr. So, Paul, why don't we get into the Jets' second preseason game? The Jets didn't really start any of their starters. We did see Sauce. He was there. We saw Hall. We saw a lot of their secondary players playing. None of their front seven. Jermaine Johnson, added a little bit of defense here and there, but nothing that really stood out to me as far as the defense is concerned. What stood out defensively in the second game for the New York Jets?
Yeah, 17 of 22 starters when you cross offense and defense did not play in this contest. So it was very situational from that standpoint. What stood out? Horrificness, terribleness. That's what frickin' stood out, man, over the first 2 preseason games, for that matter. But again, I guess you take it in the same level that whether they're balling out or they're sucking, it's preseason at the end of the day. But, the fact they haven't been playing their starters, I think a lot of people are just hoping that's the issue, because unfortunately, a lot of the problems that we've seen thus far for the Jets seem very eerily similar to the issues that they were dealing with in 2021. The biggest of which, of course, they did finish 32nd in defense last year, but the worst part was that run defense over a 4-week stretch. It included Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts saying hello and thank you very much, ran buck wild over this New York Jets defense, and they're going to get the ultimate challenge week 1. Lamar Jackson, I heard you guys talking about before the break, that offense, which won't have Gus Edwards. He's going to be out at least the first 4 games of the year. But J.K. Dobbins, that rushing attack, Lamar Jackson, that's going to be the ultimate test to see if the Jets' run defense has improved any. But it can't get any worse because last year was 32nd after all.
Yeah. So speaking of that, we definitely saw in the first preseason game, too, the Jets have a lot of trouble with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts' style of play, where he's a mobile quarterback. We've also seen this issue in the past, where even when Robert Saleh was defensive coordinator with the 49ers, they've had a lot of trouble over the years with running-type quarterbacks, such as Kyler Murray, stuff like that. So what do you think is the impressions of that, what you saw with the Eagles, and how do you think the Jets are going to have to fix that in order to make that work? Because they're going to be playing a lot, not just Lamar Jackson, other mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, they play Josh Allen in the division twice a year, to name a few. And also he had, Robert Saleh had the same issues when he was in San Francisco playing Josh Allen as he was bursting out of that as well. What the Jets are trying to do, and again, there's only one way to find out if it's going to work once we get to the regular season. They added pieces that you wouldn't normally think of the San Francisco type scheme, like Sauce Gardner, 4th overall. You're not supposed to take corners that high in this solid principal defense. They ended up trading back in for Jermaine Johnson, who's going to be a rotational guy on that defensive line. They invested at linebacker with guys like Quan Alexander, another schematic guy from the past who I still can't believe is 27 years of age. He feels like he's 1,000 with how long you think he's been in the league. But they didn't add any true run defenders. They let Foley Fatukasi go, 3-year deal, $30 million to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they never replaced him. So they're trying to do a sum is greater than the parts sort of thing where they've added Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, another schematic guy from the past, Jordan Whitehead from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then we mentioned kind of the variety of different guys who are intriguing, Jacob Martin, lower guys, Bradley and they have JFM. Quentin Williams supposed to take a step. Carl Lawson didn't play last year with the ruptured Achilles. They're just hoping all of those pieces help. And really, what I'm intrigued with is the Saleh system says 4-man rush, and then we're going to keep it really simple. But because of the additions in the secondary, which we weren't really anticipating, with DJ Reed, 3-year deal for $33 million, Sauce Gardner, 4th overall, can they get some of those exotic blitz concepts where they don't have to just rely on the 4-man pass rush? They can put a little extra pressure. As we saw, the cover 3 was getting carved up over the preseason, and Saleh, even a couple of times last year, just refused to adapt. But now that he's got the talent in the secondary, will he run some more man concepts? And again, that could open up the blitz categories up front. That's something I think they may be kind of holding in their cards for the regular season.
Paul, you look at Breece Hall. He was a high draft pick, I believe, for the New York Jets, especially in the second round. He was the first running back drafted in the second round, and throughout the draft last year. A lot of people think that he is going to be a high-profile running back. In fantasy, he was, I think, ranked 36 in almost every single board. What do you think Breece Hall is going to be this year for the New York Jets?
Yeah, he was the highest drafted running back by the Jets in 31 years. Mm-hmm. So let's put some stamp on the significance of that draft selection. And as you mentioned, the first running back taken overall in the 2022 NFL draft. And again, among the favorites for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and for good reason. The fact of the matter is the Jets obviously haven't taken running backs very high in a long time. Obviously, speaking of that little draft nugget I shared. And then the 49ers in general are guys that are supposed to take Elijah McGuire's of the world, where they just kind of throw a dart throw at the end of the draft, and that's the Shanahan scheme. And the reason why the Jets decided to do this is Mike LaFleur said it in the pre-draft process, and he said it post-draft since they've acquired Breece Hall, that this guy's different. He has those zone concepts that he incorporated from his time in college that they believe will allow him to kind of ascend, to kind of skip a few steps in the playbook, so to speak, so he can contribute immediately. They had Michael Carter last year, 4th-round pick. They thought he was a steal. They couldn't believe that he was on the board in the 4th round. But the reason that they even dipped their toe in the Breece Hall waters is because Carter could not stay healthy. And they're like, okay, this guy's not a 3-down back, so we want to have a 1A to a 1B. To me, Breece Hall is going to be the bell cow of this offense. And Michael Carter, it may be 50-50, 60-40 at first, but I think ultimately it will separate somewhere in the ballpark of 70-30 where Breece Hall is getting the rock. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's been doing really well in pass protection, which of course is the key to getting on the field for all 3 of those downs. I think he does have that ceiling of being an Offensive Rookie of the Year. If he could get the carries, if he could stay healthy, he has all the capabilities to get that touches in this offense, because the Jets, at their truest nature, want to be a team that ground and pounds of football.
So Quentin Williams' contract negotiations have been a big talk of the Jets all throughout the offseason. So what would you do if you were the Jets, and how would you judge how much you think he should get paid? Because interior linemen are getting paid a lot more than we've seen in the past because it's more valuable analytically.
100%. Aaron Donald just rewrote the record books, and perhaps that's going to be similar to Aaron Rodgers became the highest paid quarterback in football with a $50+ million per year number. And normally each guy tops the last guy, but Aaron Rodgers has almost superseded that. He set the market, and the other kids, quote unquote, are playing in the sandbox. So their numbers are kind of beating each other, but still not topping Aaron Rodgers. I think that's going to be the same case with Aaron Donald. He reset the market to this crazy number. And I think the other kids, the rest are in the top 5, top 10, are going to be battling with each other as opposed to topping that number. That's the interesting thing with Quentin Williams, because he was a number 3 overall pick. And the fact of the matter is, as a number 3 overall pick in a vacuum, he's been disappointing. He has not been the superstar, great elite player that I'm sure the Jets were hoping when they invested the number 3 overall pick into this guy. But he hasn't been this total terrible bust of a horrible player. He's just been a rock solid guy that has done well, both analytically speaking and also statistically speaking. But they're waiting for the pop year. And the Jets had one decision to make or the other. Of course, this offseason was the first year they were eligible to even discuss a contract extension with him and his agent, Nicole Lynn. And really, I think what the Jets are saying is prove it. And if Quinnen Williams pops, because they had the choice to proactively give him an extension right now, and maybe they save a few bucks, and I advocated for that this offseason, or if you wait and allow a second year in the system, more talent around him. We've mentioned some of it, JFM, Carl Lawson, all the guys that are going to be around him. If I was a betting man, and I am, I would lay some bones that Quinnen Williams is set for a breakout year because everything is going in his favor to be that, for all of that to come to fruition. The only way it doesn't is if he gets injured, which none of us can predict how any of that could potentially happen. Again, he was kind of banged up last week and didn't end up playing in the game either, but most of the starters didn't for the New York Jets anyway. Robert Saleh doesn't seem to be concerned. For me, I think that number is going to be crazy, though. I think at this point, it's $17+ million per year on a deal. And again, if he breaks out the way that I believe he can, he could be approaching the $20+ million per year ballpark. One of the reasons Robert Saleh took this job is because he believed in Quinnen Williams. He said, wow, that's a guy I can build around. That could be the centerpiece of my defense. So they have high expectations for this kid, and they believe that he could take the next step. Again, still incredibly young at just 24 years of age. Just think about that. Michael Clemens, the guy they just drafted, celebrated his 25th birthday last week. Quinnen Williams going into year 4 here, and again, this guy is only 24 years of age. There's so much potential here, but they want to see him pop. And if and when he does, they're more than willing to pay the piper next offseason.
And like we have said, the Jets have done him a lot of good too. They brought Quincy Williams in there. He's playing with his brother, and his brother has been a good player for them as well, coming from Jacksonville. So it's something that the Jets are trying to keep Quentin happy. So the Jets are moving forward with doing that. Let's go into the weakness of the New York Jets over the last couple of years, the wide receiving core. Now, Zach Wilson tearing his meniscus, being out a significant amount of time, but not as bad as everybody thought he was going to be because of the ACL. All these experts, these doctor experts that watch the video, oh my God, he tore his ACL. And all we found out is he had a bruised knee and a meniscus problem, which usually heals within 2 to 4 weeks. So he'll be back probably week 2. Nevertheless, Garrett Wilson in the draft, number 10 pick. Elijah Moore, early second round pick last year. You added some tight ends in Conklin and Usuma and all the different guys that they brought in the offseason in free agency. Where does this offense take it to that next level this year?
I mean, you really said it with all the pieces, and then we mentioned Breece Hall earlier too. Again, more draft nuggets. Garrett Wilson was the first-round receiver the Jets has taken since 2001, 21 years ago. That was Santana Moss. He's the highest drafted receiver since Keyshawn Johnson was the number 1 pick in the late 1990s. So again, the Jets have not invested this level of capital into these premium positions. You mentioned Uzama, and Conklin, $45 million there. Jeremy Ruckert, the number 101 overall pick. The Jets just said, YOLO, let's add more tight ends. Phenomenal. So they added a lot of juice, a lot of chutzpah, you may say, to this offense.
Chutzpah.
And again, Elijah Moore. Last year, that second-round pick, he was one of the highest drafted receivers they'd taken in some time, and he looked like a star. Unfortunately, he could not stay healthy. Corey Davis, another one who could not stay healthy, but now he's going to settle more into a proper number 2 or number 3 role as opposed to the number 1 receiver that he wanted us to believe he was, and unfortunately he isn't, but that's okay. You just be whoever you are. In this case, I believe Elijah Moore will be the true number 1 wide receiver for this offense, and you have a true number 1 in Elijah Moore. You have Corey Davis just playing second or third fiddle, and Garrett Wilson has been really special throughout training camp. And even in these preseason games, you've seen that elite body control that everyone was, kind of pumping everything about coming out of Ohio State.
That catch yesterday was awesome, by the way.
And it feels a little Jamar Chasey, like when, and not that he will have that kind of impact. We will see ultimately if that is the case. But when Jamar Chase was a rookie, I remember everyone on these shows saying, and not on this show in particular, but on shows in general, Jamar Chase, dropopotamus. Oh, God, this guy sucks. And then, he just had that spectacular record-breaking rookie season that he did with the Bengals. And Garrett Wilson has had a lot of weird, just simple drops, and he turns around and has a crazy one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. You're like, what the hell? What's happening here? So it's a lack of focus, certainly happening from that perspective. But in terms of the Jets offense, you're right. They've been dog crap. They've been terrible forever. Okay, and now finally they have all this talent, and now we need to see it manifest itself. And the architect behind this is a famous NFL name that we all know. That's Mike LaFleur, who's entering the second year of his system. Now he's got the toys to play with. Last year he didn't. So a lot of the crazy crap he was calling early in the season, the Jets offense was simply not capable of executing it to that level. So I believe this Jets offense has the potential to make a quantum leap here. Of course, Joe Flacco should bring a nice floor at the beginning of the season if Zach Wilson is not ready. But Zach Wilson obviously provides a sexy ceiling that can unlock this entire offense if, of course, he can take that next step.
Don't forget about Braxton Berrios either.
Of course, double B, baby. Double B.